The USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group has already become one of the most closely watched symbols of American military power. It is now operating in the Mediterranean as part of the broader U.S. response to the attacks on Israel. As one official put it, this deployment may have already been on the schedule, but it now overlaps with events that have turned global attention toward the region. And if called upon, the strike group is prepared to carry out whatever mission it is assigned. At the center of that force is the USS Gerald R. Ford itself, currently operating in the Red Sea in a constant state of combat readiness as part of Operation Epic Fury. On board are roughly 4,600 people: sailors, pilots, mechanics, weapons crews, medical personnel, cooks, and support staff. And on a ship like this, nothing ever pauses. Aircraft launch from the flight deck day and night. Massive elevators move cargo between decks without stopping. Every part of the carrier functions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with no real downtime. For this enormous machine to keep moving, every person on board has a role, a schedule, and a task that must be completed no matter what hour it is. Deep in the lower decks, the crew lives in berthing compartments spread throughout the ship. Each compartment can hold anywhere from around 40 to more than 100 sailors, depending on its location and purpose. The sleeping spaces are built from stacked bunks, sometimes 2 high, sometimes 3 high, with racks bolted directly into the bulkheads and lined up in tight rows. Each rack measures roughly 6 feet in length and about 2.5 feet in width. Inside, there is a thin mattress, a pillow, and a curtain that can be pulled shut to create at least a small sense of privacy. Beneath each bunk is a narrow storage compartment known as a coffin locker, where sailors keep uniforms, gear, and whatever personal belongings they can fit. Space is extremely limited. There is barely enough room to shift around, and the person sleeping above you may be less than 18 inches away. But for a crew putting in 12-hour shifts or more, that rack becomes all they need. When a sailor finally comes off shift, he climbs into that narrow rack, pulls the curtain shut, and tries to sleep, but the compartment is never truly silent. Someone is always moving. A hatch opens, boots strike the deck, another sailor comes in while someone else heads out. Yet after only a few days at sea, most sailors learn to sleep through almost anything. Right next to those berthing areas are the heads, the ship's shared bathrooms. Inside are rows of sinks, mirrors, and compact shower stalls. The showers are extremely small, just enough space to stand and turn. Water is rationed carefully, so sailors are expected to shower quickly, usually only for a few minutes, to help preserve the ship's freshwater supply. Along the wall, the sinks sit in a line beneath mirrors, and throughout the day, dozens of sailors rotate through the same space as shifts change and departments cycle in and out. But one of the biggest continuous operations on the ship is feeding 4,600 people 3 to 4 times every single day without interruption. The Ford does this through 2 massive consolidated galleys, large centralized kitchens positioned along the ship's center line. The aft galley feeds the general crew, chiefs, and officers through 3 separate serving lines, all supplied by 1 kitchen. The forward galley opens when the air wing is embarked and serves the pilots and aviation personnel. Both galleys operate around the clock. The culinary specialists, the Navy's cooks, work in rotating shifts to make sure food is always being prepared. At any given moment, somewhere on the ship, someone is cooking. In the early hours of the morning, the night shift begins breakfast preparation. Eggs are scrambled in huge quantities on industrial flat-top griddles. Bacon and sausage cook on sheet pans inside convection ovens. Biscuits are baked by the tray. Oatmeal simmers inside steam kettles. Fresh fruit is sliced and arranged for serving. By late morning, the lunch shift takes over. Chicken is grilled. Roast beef is carved. Fish is baked. Rice and vegetables are prepared in bulk. Then, as the afternoon progresses, dinner is already underway. Cooks season racks of ribs and slide them into the ovens. Pizza dough is rolled out and loaded with toppings. Roasted meats are portioned out. Vegetables are chopped for salads. Everything is designed to be filling, high in calories, and capable of keeping sailors fueled through hard physical work and long 12-hour shifts. Meals are built around protein, carbohydrates, fresh vegetables whenever available, and fruit. Directly beneath the galleys are the refrigerated storerooms, linked by pallet-capable elevators. These spaces hold frozen meat, fresh produce, dairy products, and dry goods stacked in large quantities. Ethylene filtration systems in the cold storage areas help keep fruits and vegetables fresh longer than they would have lasted on older carriers. When the food is ready, it is served buffet style. Prepared dishes are placed into heated serving trays and covered with stainless steel domes to keep them warm and fresh. Sailors move through the line, pick up a tray, and take whatever they need, often as much as they want. There is always a main entree, side dishes, bread, salad, drinks, and dessert. The line never really stops moving. Meals happen in waves because the ship itself runs on a rotation, usually based around 3 shifts. One group is working, another is eating, another is sleeping. Most sailors get only about 20 to 30 minutes to sit down and eat before the next group needs those same seats. Nobody lingers. You come in, eat quickly, and move out so the cycle can continue. That rhythm repeats 4 times a day: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a midnight meal for the overnight watch. On holidays and special occasions, the galley staff pushes far beyond the usual routine. Burgers may be grilled right on the mess decks. Fresh rolls and buns are baked from scratch. Dessert pastries are made with cream and fruit fillings. The serving area gets decorated. Thanksgiving and Christmas meals are an important tradition aboard every carrier: turkey, stuffing, pie, and all the classic side dishes. For many on board, those are the rare moments when life at sea briefly feels like home. But while the crew is eating and sleeping in shifts below deck, the flight deck above never slows down. The Ford's electromagnetic aircraft launch system has replaced the old steam catapults with a newer electromagnetic setup, allowing fighters to launch off the bow faster and with less stress on the aircraft. Its advanced arresting gear catches returning aircraft with greater precision. On a normal combat day, the flight deck works in repeated cycles. Each cycle starts with aircraft being moved from their parking positions toward the catapults. Yellow-shirted aircraft directors guide every jet into place with precise hand signals. Green shirts connect the launch bar to the catapult shuttle. Red shirts arm the weapons. Then the catapult fires and the fighter is hurled off the bow. Within seconds, the next aircraft is already moving into position. In less than an hour, a single cycle can send dozens of aircraft into the air. Below that flight deck, the hangar bay is another world of non-stop motion. Aircraft needing repairs are lowered down using the deck edge elevators. Mechanics work under bright fluorescent lighting on engines, avionics, and hydraulic systems. Weapons are assembled and staged for the next loading cycle. Spare parts are hauled across the deck on carts. The sound never goes away. Air tools, generators, forklifts, ventilation systems forcing air through that enormous enclosed space. The ship also produces more than 400,000 gallons of fresh water every day through its desalination systems. That water supports showers, laundry, kitchens, and drinking needs for the entire crew. Laundry itself runs constantly. With nearly 5,000 people on board generating uniforms, towels, and linens every day, the washers and dryers simply do not stop. Medical personnel operate what is essentially a full hospital at sea, capable of handling everything from routine appointments to emergency surgery. There is also a dental clinic, a pharmacy, and mental health support on board. Every department, engineering, aviation, weapons, supply, medical, communications, runs according to its own schedule, but each one is connected to all the others. Deep below the waterline, reactor operators keep the ship's 2 nuclear reactors running and the carrier moving. Boiler technicians maintain steam for the systems that need it. Electricians keep the lights on and the electronics powered. Damage control teams remain ready for fire, flooding, or combat damage at any moment. Nothing pauses, nothing slows. The USS Gerald R. Ford is not just a warship. It is a floating city built for conflict, and every one of its 4,600 people has a mission, a responsibility, and a job that must be done every single day until the ship finally returns to port.